time the market? No. A bad time example is Riddle History. For instance, September 16, 2008, Smart Money Magazine released its newest edition with the headline, "Double the size of your nest egg. Now is the time to invest in cheap stocks, funds, and real estate." September 16, 2008. On the same day, the market collapsed 30%, and on July 24, 2001, Silverstein Properties purchased a 99-year lease on the World Trade Center for $3.2 billion just about 2 months before the 9/11 attacks. Obviously, the gravity of 9/11 is unparalleled, and we're not trying to compare the investment trade timing to such an event, but a comparable lesson prevails through the example. You never know what may happen. Did we have weird things happen this weekend, guys? Are there world-shaking events that are occurring right now this weekend? We don't know what's going to happen. Okay? So how much of the money should your clients' money that are planning on a 25, 30-year retirement, if they want the highest chance of success, how much money should they have in stocks today? How much money should they have in stocks today? 20, 30, 40, 50%. Really, 20, 30, 40 is the sweet spot. 20, 30, 40 is the sweet spot. And then you can move it over time into the market. So enough on that. Please, 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 guys, this is a once-in-a-life opportunity. I am trying to scrounge every penny I can get to pop into this thing myself. I know Jerry is too. And if you are not talking to your clients, somebody else will. Okay, enough on that. Let's talk about motivational interviewing. I touched on this maybe a month and a half ago about this guide. Hopefully you've all downloaded this guide to look at it, but I kind of want to walk through it with you and kind of point out the things that we need to be doing to really make this successful. So these guys are not doughheads. The guys that wrote this, PhD from the University of Edinburgh, 1989, where he studied under Professor blah, 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 blah. But you can go through their resumes, unbelievable resumes. And here's what's in this. It's adherence to the practice, information exchange, motivational interviewing, the theories and principles, how to do it, using it in practice, developing and maintaining skills. Does MI work? And guys, this was developed, remember, for psychological purposes, for therapy. It was developed for therapy. But then the actual medical field, not the psychological field, but the medical field, said there are things in here we can use to get our clients compliant with medical treatments. So not just psychological, but actually getting people compliant with medical treatments. And guess what we found out? I found out in 1998 that it also works for getting people to leave their current advisor, to make changes in their advisors. It works. It works getting people to make changes. So what is it? It's an elicit, provide, elicit cycle. So the key when presenting information, I'm not going to read all of it through. We're going to do highlights, but I want to read this first page. The key to presenting information then is to engage the person first. The simplest way to do this is to ask them what they already know about the topic first. Do we do that with the 5Q system, guys? Ask them what they know. So, do you have a power of attorney? Why is the power of attorney important? Do you have a medical directive? Why is that important? Are you diversified? Why is that important? Are you looking for growth? Why is that important? Why are fees important? Do we do that? Yes, we do. This helps you to shape the information you're to present and also starts the person thinking about it. When you need to present information, following this, you need think about when you need to present the information. Following this, you need to check that they understood what you said by asking them. Do we do that with the 5Q system? Yes. We always ask open-ended questions. There are many reasons why they may not tell you if they haven't. They may have wrongly believed they understood.
Did it pop up on?
Oh, what's the matter? Are you talking to me, Missy? Can everybody see my slide?
I was just making sure that everyone could see that I was noting that I'll post those slides. I've got a lot of people asking for the slide deck for those slides, so I'll go ahead and post that.
Okay.
So thanks.
Okay. So we are going to be doing that sometime in the next couple hours?
Yes, I sure will.
All right, awesome. Okay. So the routine to adopt when giving a piece of information is to first understand what the patient already knows. Do we do that? Yes. What they would like to know by asking. provide the information as neutral way possible. We do that. Why? Here's a good question for you guys. Why do we, or how do we provide the information in as neutral a way possible? How do we with the 5Q system do that? Third party, awesome. I didn't even think about that, Nick. You're right. Bert, that's what I was looking for. We have them tell us. So between the third party, which I didn't even think about, thanks, Nick and Dale, and Bert, yes, we have them tell us, yes, it's as neutral as possible. Do we ever make a point with the client? Do we ever try to make a point with the client that they're taking too much risk, or this is a good product, or that they're paying too much in fees? Do we ever make a point? That's right, John. No. In exclamation, no, we don't. So in this way, and then check their understanding. Do we check their understanding? So yes, we have them repeat back to us what they want to do, or what information they have, or why their advisor did this to them. We do these three things. And this way, the patient is engaged in the process before you give information. They are therefore more likely to think about the meaning of what you say, process it, integrate it into their own experience and beliefs. Personal integration is always best done by the patient. This is everything we do with the 5Q system. We have the client integrate it themselves. Sometimes the question you ask after you present the information can really aid in this process. So what do you make of that? Why did your advisor do this to you? Where does this leave you? Is this more of an academic exercise, or do you want to make changes? What would you like to do next? See, do we ever, guys, am I a good closer? Is Mike Castelneck a good closer? Yes or no? Why or in? Getting some good right answers and some wrong answers. That's right. No, I am a horrible closer. That's right, Artie. That's right. I'm a horrible closer. So I learned to have the client close themselves. I ask them, what do they want to do next? They have to tell me they want to move their money. I never ask them to move money. And when they tell me to move money, how often do they change their minds? Guess how many? The last 2 years that I was in private practice, making nearly $1 million a year, guess how many deals I sold that changed their minds? 0, that's right. 0 did. Why? Because I didn't sell them. They sold themselves. And when they sell themselves, can their kids talk them out of it? Can their current advisor talk them out of it? When they've sold themselves, can anybody talk them out of it? No, because the more somebody tries to talk them out of it, the more they do what? The more their kids, the more their advisor, the more their friend tries to talk them out of it, the more they defend it, Bert, right? The more they defend it. So motivational interviewing principles and practices. Motivational interviewing is an intervention designed for situations in which a patient needs to make a behavioral change but is unsure about it, and sometimes to the extent of being quite hostile to the idea. Does that encapsulate us trying to get somebody who loves their advisor to leave their current advisor? Would that encapsulate trying to get that methodology define somebody we're trying to get who loves their advisor to leave their advisor? They need to make a change, but they're unsure about it, and they might even be to the extent of quite hostile for us to even bring up their idea that their guy is cheating them. It builds on the idea that the first step in any consultation is actually to get the conversation going. In this particular strategy, to focus on conversation on behavior change and to ensure the patient is helped to consider an option. See, the background on MI lies in the treatment of people with alcohol problems. So, guys, if you tell somebody to quit drinking, guess what they want to do? Drink more. When you tell somebody to quit taking drugs, what do they want to do? Take more. When you tell somebody to quit gambling, what do they want to do? Do more. As human beings, when somebody, even if there's a fire in the theater and somebody behind you pushes, what do? There's a fire in the theater, somebody behind you pushes you towards the exit, what do you do as a human being? Come on, somebody answer that. Push back, that's right, you resist it. As human beings, we don't like to be told what to do. So when you tell somebody to do something, they're going to push back. I don't care how good it is for them, they're going to fight back, right? So motivational interviewing is done because people want to, when confronted, they fight back, denying that they have a problem. This shouldn't, guys. Is this true? When you have, before coming on to 5Q, and you tried to tell somebody that their guy was not doing the job or that they were in a bad situation, do they say, "Oh yes, you're right," or do they get defensive? What is their knee-jerk reaction when you try to tell them they have a problem, that they could be doing things better? Yes, they defend. That's right, Andre. They defend. This shouldn't be a surprise. It's not an easy thing to hear yourself being called an alcoholic, or not being easy to telling you that you're not doing well in your investments. So being called alcoholic is we ruin their life. Many responded by not hearing it, coming up with reasons why their counselor is wrong. I don't drink anymore. That's the next guy. I don't drink any more than the next guy. It was tempting to provide those counselors. Guys, how many defensive excuses have you come across when clients defend their guy? Well, everybody's got to make money. Well, I don't know how you can do any better. Well, I told him I wanted to be in stocks. Guys, how many of you heard those things? They all defend. So the commonly used definition for motivation interviewing is a direct, patient or client-centered counseling style for eliciting behavior change by helping patients explore and resolve the ambivalence, and it should say, for themselves. The theory and main principles of motivation interviewing. Number one, don't tell people what to do. Don't tell, don't sell, don't preach, don't teach. So, I came up with that, don't sell, tell, preach, or teach, but isn't that what I'm saying? Isn't principle one saying don't tell, sell, preach, or teach? And as salespeople, guess how we've had our success? Prior to you coming on to 5Q, how did we have our success? When we sold something, how did we do it? We told them, we sold them, we preached to them, we teach to them. Make sense? Can't do that. Because especially with boomers and every generation after boomers, the more you tell somebody what to do, the more they're going to fight back. Now, did telling, selling, preaching, and teaching work for the greatest generation? That generation that fought World War II, did telling, selling, preaching, and teaching work for them? Did it work? Yes, it did. Why? Because they respected authority. But since boomers, every generation from boomers on down, does anybody respect authority anymore? Anybody? Do the majority of people expect, and people with money, do people with money respect authority? No. So don't tell, sell, preach, or teach. Number two, listen. If you can't listen and engage someone in conversation, they're never going to change. So why do I ask open-ended questions? It forces me to what? Why does everything out of my mouth is open-ended question? Guys, I'm on these phone calls for the last 23 years, every single Monday talking to you guys. Do I like to listen to myself talk? Yay or nay? I've been on these calls talking for an hour all by myself for an hour. Guys, how long do you think I could talk? Those of you that came on because you came to training, and I talked for 2 days, guys. Can I listen to myself talk forever? Yes. About this subject, about motivational interviewing, about getting people to leave their current advisor, I could talk your ear off for hours and hours and hours. When I'm trying to get somebody to leave their current advisor, I could talk to them for hours and hours and hours. So what did I discipline myself to do to prevent that from happening? To listen. How did I discipline myself to listen? That's right, to ask open, not just questions, but open-ended questions. Open-ended questions. That's how I discipline myself. This part of motivation interviewing has been its roots in patient-centered counseling proposed by blah, 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 who argued that the change can be facilitated by providing someone with a therapist who adopts the non-directive style, who's empathic, genuine in their attempts to understand, warm in their responses, but who mostly listens. If someone is expected to be persuaded or told off but not adhering, this is unexpected. Do we do things with clients that they do not expect? Yes. When they give us an objection, what's the first thing out of our mouth? Absolutely. What's the second thing out of my mouth? I'm going to spend 3 to 5 minutes telling them why what they said was right. Do they go, what did he say? They're expecting me to fight. Instead, I'm explaining to them why they're right. Is this unexpected to them? Yes, it is. And that gets the conversation going. Listen, listen, listen. Principle 3, let the patient tell you they need to change. Do we do that, guys? Yes. Principle 4, cognitive dissonance. This is cited by Bill Miller in his first paper. He's not so keen on this now, but we'd rather like it. Basically, cognitive dissonance was proposed by Leon Festinger to be a feature situation in which people are struggling with a choice about changing, which is making them feel uncomfortable. Guys, leaving their current advisor and moving to you, is that uncomfortable to them? Do people like change? No. Do people like confrontation? No. And even leaving an advisor that likes them and is going to be open to them changing, they still have to tell that person, I don't like you, I don't trust you, I think I'm going to move my money to somebody else. That's hard for people. That's hard for people. It makes them feel uncomfortable. Such as when there's something someone feels that they ought to do, but they're not doing it. Just filling out a tax return, giving up smoking, taking medication. This conflict makes people feel uncomfortable, produces a momentum towards change if handled the right way. So we can actually use that if we know how to do it. We can actually use that uncomfortability if we know how to do it. Cognitive dissonance is a very powerful phenomenon that every one of us has experience in. Motivational Interviewing refuses this and aims to use understanding of the principles to encourage change. Basically, if the contrast between the two choices is brought out, guys, do we use contrast between staying with their guy and leaving with their guy? Do we use contrast? And everything I teach you is that contrast, 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 giving them a comparison. So right now, do you want to pay more fees or less fees? Would you want a higher return or a lower return? Okay, right now you're getting what? You're paying what? Well, more fees, and you're getting what? A lower return. Is that contrast, guys? At the end of every single point in the 20-point checklist, do I give them contrast? Yes. Because if you go to the eye doctor and say, does he say, okay, try these pair of glasses on. Does that help you see better? Yes, it does. Okay, you're good. Go out the door. No. He puts you on the goggles. He says, okay, first or second, which is better? First or second? Click, click. First or second? Click, click. First or second? Click, click. First or second. Because we have been trained since preschool to what? To know what's the best or to compare two things and decide which one of those is better. Can you know something's the best without looking at anything else? No. But are we all capable of looking at two different things and saying, oh, that one's better? Yes. That's why we use that contrast all the way through our system and with motivation interviewing. People need to feel confident before trying to change. Why do I have somebody repeat something over and over and over and over and over? When they repeat something over and over and over, what happens to their confidence level? It goes up or goes down? Yes, Bert, it drills them so they remember, and also, more importantly, so they what? So you're right, Bert, so they remember it. So when they walk out of my office, they remember it, absolutely. Imprinted, yes, and what? Why, when you go to church, do they have you say the same prayers, sing the same songs over and over and over? Why in grade school do they have us say the Pledge of Allegiance over and over and over? The more times you say something, the what? The more you what? Believe it. Believe it. Even if someone is convinced of the need to change, if they don't have confidence, they're unlikely to try. Worse, they can feel depressed since they realize their predicament, that they know they need to change, but they're not confident enough to change. So Albert Bandura captured this with the idea of self-efficacy, self-belief. If this is high, someone will feel confident and more likely to succeed. Motivation is explicit about keeping the morale high, guys. How often? What is aping about, guys? What is aping about? What is the whole? Every time they ask a question, I tell you to agree, parrot, and what? Empower. What is that about? Keeping the morale level what? High. Remember I talked about, I've listened to 3-hour tapes where advisor is doing a fantastic job and he's talking to a 75-year-old woman, and at the end of that 3 hours, that 75-year-old woman, what does she feel? At the end of 3 hours of a guy doing motivational interviewing, what does she feel at the end of that 3 hours? Is she tired? Is she energized? She feels great, right, Bert? Why does she feel great? For the first time in her life, somebody's what? asked her what she knew, what she thought, what she understood. And when she was able to understand, think, and whatever else, that person patted her on the back mentally. Has that ever happened to her in her entire life, probably? For somebody for 3 hours that told her that she is smart, walked her through her discovering how smart she is. Guess how that makes her feel? Wonderful. They're not tired at the end of 3 hours. The advisor's tired. They're not. They want to keep going. They've never had this happen to them before. Ambivalence is normal. It's normal for human beings to be unsure of what to do. How do we do? This is a great question. How do we handle? Because it is. It's normal for people not to know what to do unless their choice is black and white. Leaving their current advisor, that's tough. There's a lot of ambivalence there. Well, I know that he's not doing his best job, but boy, I know I could be doing better somewhere else. But if I change, I don't really know for sure that change is going to be good. And I don't know, and I don't know where the money's going to go. And we've been doing this for a long time. Things have been going okay. Why don't we just keep doing? Guys, is that the conversation they have? Yes. That's the conversation they're having in their head. So how do we change that and make it absolutely 100% sure what they need to do? What is the whole 5Q system about? How do we remove that ambivalence so they're no longer unsure of what to do? What do they know they need to do at the end of, what do I want them to make sure they know what they want to do at the end of every single one of the 21 points? Well, no, I'd say to take that back. Maybe out of 18 of the 21 points. Very good, Bert. Bert's got it. See if anybody else gets it. That's right. Leave their advisor because their advisor is screwing them. When you're getting screwed by somebody, what happens to ambivalence? What happens to the unsureness of what should I do? If somebody's screwing you, you're 100% sure you need to what? Leave that guy. So how do you do motivational interviewing? Well, motivational interviewing has been practical and focused. The strategies of motivational interviewing are more persuasive than coercive, more supportive than argumentative. The motivational interview. So, guys, are we manipulating people with motivational interviewing? It's more persuasive than coercive, more supportive than argumentative. Is motivational interviewing manipulative? No. Would doctors do it? Would psychologists do it if it was manipulation? And remember, those of you that have read the article about that when Miller was approached about me teaching you guys motivational interviewing, what was Miller, the guy who designed this with Rolnick, a magazine journalist approached him and said, hey, this guy here in Minnesota, he's teaching advisors how to use motivational interviewing in their financial advisor practice. What was Miller's knee-jerk reaction? He said, oh my God, that's terrific, or oh my God, that's SOB. What did he say? Those of you remember the article. Nope. He didn't say terrific. He said that SOB. Why did he say that SOB? He thought I was using teaching you guys motivation interviewing to do what? The right thing or to trick people? To manipulate. He thought I was teaching you guys to do this manipulate. But everything that we've gone through in this, and I went to my wife who introduced me to motivation interviewing. She's a PhD in behavioral psychology and worked at the Mayo Clinic. And I went to her and said, this guy thinks that I'm screwing people. And she goes, wait. It's because he does not know what you're doing. If he sat down and listened to your advisors and how they conducted themselves with a client, he would be patting you on the back. He'd be patting them on the back because you're not using it for manipulation. You're using it to help the client discover for themselves what they want to do. It's just that he thought he didn't. A journalist calls him out of the blue and says, hey, the salesman is using motivation interviewing to sell things. What's his knee-jerk reaction going to be? Yes, it's going to be and the reason he's worried. Now, why? Why was he worried? Because motivational interviewing what? Why was he worried that there was a salesman using it? Because motivational interviewing what? It's powerful. Yes, works. The motivation interviewing must proceed with a strong sense of purpose, clear strategies, and skills. Have I given you purpose to have them discover the guy is screwing them? clear strategies, the scripts to do it, and skills, aping for pursuing the purpose and sense of time to intervene in particular insights of moments. Have I given that to you? So a practitioner using motivation will be able to express empathy through reflective listening. Do we do reflective listening with aping, guys? Yes. Communicate with respect for acceptance of patients and their feelings. Do we ever tell anybody they're wrong? Do we ever tell anybody they're wrong? Do we ever say yes, but? No, we don't. Establish a non-judgmental collaborative relationship. Be a supportive, knowledgeable consultant. Compliment rather than denigrate. What is aping about? Listen rather than tell. Open-ended questions. Gently persuade with understanding that change is up to the patient. Do we ever tell somebody they need to change? No, we let them discover for themselves. Provide support throughout the process of recovery. Develop discrepancy between patients' goals or values, current behavior, helping patients recognize discrepancies between them and where they are and where they want to be. Their guy is what? Screwing them. Avoid argument and direct confrontation, which can degenerate into a power struggle. Do we do that? Our whole overcoming objections is about telling them they're right, not about telling them they're wrong. Adjust to rather than oppose patient resistance. Again, if we tell them they're right, not wrong, support self-efficacy, optimism. That is, focus on patient strengths to support hope and optimism. Aping. Do we do these things? Yes, we do. See, the four principal strategies of motivational interviewing are get a conversation going, express empathy through reflective listening. So we ask open-ended questions, and we ape them when they answer the questions. Quick, does everybody on the call does not know what ape means? Anyone on the call does not know what ape means? A is for agree, P is for parroting, and E is for empowering. So when we do that, are we expressing empathy? Develop discrepancy between patients' goals and values and the current behavior. We do that 18 times in the 20-point checklist. My guy is screwing me. I want to get the most out of my investments with the least cost. Instead, I'm getting the least out of my investments with the most cost. And when we talk about investment, we're talking about titling. We're talking about beneficiaries. We're talking about getting access to our money with the power of attorney. We're talking about getting access to Social Security. We're talking about all these things. Avoid argument and direct confrontation. Adjust to resistance rather than opposing it directly. Do we ever? What is our whole template for overcoming objections? First thing out of my mouth is absolutely, and then I spend 3 to 5 minutes telling them why they're right. So do I go after them directly? No. And support self-efficacy and optimism. See how all the things that I'm teaching you is motivational interviewing. Clinicians who have adapted motivational interviewing as a preferred style have found the following 5 strategies are particularly useful. Ask open-ended questions. Yes, we do that. Listen reflectively. Yes, we do that. Summarize. If you still summarize periodically what has transpired up to this point in the counseling session. Guys, give me an example of this. What's the biggest example we do this? Now, we don't summarize. We have them summarize. But where's the biggest example of this? What do we do at the end of the 21-point checklist? What do we do at the end of the 21-point checklist? What do we have the client do for us? Yes, we go backwards. We have them start at the thing we just covered and then go backwards through the list to remind and summarize why their guy's taking advantage of them. Affirmation, that's all about what aping is about. Elicit self-motivational statements. Again, having them tell themselves why they need to do what they need to do. You need to be careful that you don't fall into the expert trap. Prior to coming on to 5Q and all of your competitors, what do they love to do with clients? How do they get their clients? How do they think the best way to get their clients is? To be a what? Expert. Let me tell you. Let me show you how smart I am. Look at all of the little 3-letter designations behind my name and 4-letter designation behind my name. Look at all the things I've done. Look at how smart I am. Look at the organizations I belong to. Do we ever do that in the 5Q system? No. The more you tell a boomer, the more you tell any generation after a boomer that you're an expert, the more they believe you or the more they try to poke the holes in your expertise. the more they try to poke their holes in your expertise. You need to be careful not to fall into the expert trap. Telling someone that you think they need to do. The danger here is that they will switch off. Instead of, you need to put the patient at ease and attempt to understand their frame of reference. All the time encouraging a conversation about change. Let the patient do most of the talking. You're trying to foster collaboration between patient and practitioner, create a climate for change. Don't be afraid to acknowledge what may be on your agenda, but don't forget to ask for their agenda too. You can use a number of skills, open-ended questions, affirmations, reflective listening, summaries. We do this, our whole scripting is about this. Close-ended question. So are you here because you're concerned about not using your nebulizer? No. Tell me what brings you in here today. Guys, open-ended questions is so much more powerful. Affirmations. Not everyone manages to give up smoking as you have. What do we use? What's the one thing we use for affirmations? What's the biggest affirmation we give people? What's the most powerful tool, I tell you, that we have in our toolbox? What's the most powerful tool we have in our toolbox? Empowering. So I say, which direction do you think the market's going to go? And they say up, or they say down. No matter what they say, I say, wow, that is impressive. You don't know, I probably asked that to 15 people in the last month, and you're one of 2 that got that right. I don't know. Wow, that's amazing. It shouldn't amaze me based on our conversation so far, but it does amaze me that out of the 15 people I talked to, all relatively very smart, experienced, etc., got 13 of the 15 got it wrong. You got it right. I don't know if you've got experience. I don't know if your intuition, whether you've studied this, whatever. But wow, kudos to you. That is impressive that you understood enough about what's going on and can ignore all the noise, but instead figured it out for yourself. That congratulations, way to go. What am I doing there, guys? That's empowering. What have I just done? What have I just done there? Affirmed. I've told them what? They're above average. That's right. They're smart. Reflective listening. It's all about aping. Every time they say something, exactly. That's an acknowledgement. Parroting. They say the market's going to go up. I say, exactly. That's agreeing. The market's going to go up. That's parroting. Now, we have to be careful with parroting. Parroting is not paraphrasing. Parroting is saying exactly what they say back, not paraphrasing. There have been many studies about this. The one I talk about all the time is that they studied waiters and waitresses, and they found that when a waiter parroted back the exact order, their tips went up by 17%. If they paraphrase the order, their tip did not go up at all. Didn't go down, but didn't go up. So parroting is saying exactly word for word what they said, not adding in your editorial additions to it. It's saying exactly what they say. It's not adding on, subtracting, correcting. It's saying exactly what they say back. That's parroting. And then empowering is telling them they're above average. So every time they answer a question, you have to what? Ape them. Agree, parrot, empower, one of them, 2 of them, 3 of them, mix it up, but that tells the clients that you're listening to them. Because if all I do is ask a question, so Missy, can you get on here a second?
Yep, I'm on.
So, Missy, why did you go with your family to the amusement park?
I like amusement parks.
Why do you like amusement parks?
Well, there's lots of different things to do. There's rides. There's just people watching. It's fun.
Why is that important?
Well, I like to have fun.
Why is fun important? So, guys, I've asked open-ended question after open-ended question. They're open-ended questions. But, Missy, how are you starting to feel right now?
It's starting to get annoying.
Get annoying, yes. So, you have to do reflective listening. So I say, so Missy, why did you go with your family to the amusement park?
I like amusement parks. There's lots of fun stuff to do.
Yeah, there is. There's lots of fun stuff to do at amusement parks. And why is that so important with family?
Well, it gets us outside, gets us together. We can, enjoy our time together, and yeah.
Wow, you're right. To enjoy time together. It's so in today's world, so many people are so busy. I mean, I've talked to person after person that hasn't ever taken their family to an amusement park. But you get it. You invested your time, your effort, and heck, amusement parks aren't cheap. You invested your money. It just says to me how much you care about your family, making those ties, making those memories. So kudos to you guys. I think I've asked. I don't love amusement parks myself, so I've asked. That's one of the questions I ask my families if they've gone to. And geez, I think the last 10 people I've asked, only 3 of them have gone. So that puts you right in the front of the class. Way to go. So guys, when she gives me a question, what do? Make sure she thinks that I think that she's a what? And how long will she answer my questions if every time she gives me an answer, I tell her she's smart or above average? Or that I agree with her? How long will she answer my questions? Everybody answer this. Long or short? Yeah, forever. Forever, forever, forever. Then we summarize and reframe. Summaries seem to be such a simple technique, but it's surprising how powerful it is for a listener to actively pull together what someone has been saying and reflecting back to them. Guys, if you do not have them go backwards through the 21-point checklist, if you don't have them summarize at the end of each one of those points why their guy did this to them, it's not effective. It's a powerful tool to have them summarize in their own words what is happening to them. And then reframing offers the possibility to go beyond reflecting back to what someone has said and reframing it with a different perspective. Perhaps pointing out the positive for someone who's taken a very negative view of their past achievements. So if somebody tries to tell themselves that it's their fault, has any of you ever had, after you got through 20-point checklist, that people try to tell themselves that it's their fault for being stupid? Boy, we're so stupid. We shouldn't allow this. Can we allow that to happen? No, we have them reframe it that what? Hey. If we go to a doctor, we expect the doctor to do what for us? Cure us. If we go to a mechanic, we expect him to do what? Cure the engine. If we go to a financial advisor, we expect him to do what? Cure us. If we go in and we're skeptical of doctors and mechanics and whatever, we're never going to get anything done. So you did the right thing. You came with an open heart to your advisor, as you should. Otherwise, you can't get help. But what did that advisor do to you? It's not your fault. It's whose fault? See, you have to reframe so they understand it's not their fault. It's their advisor's fault. Developing discrepancy. Given a choice between changing and proving that it is not necessary, most people get busy with proof. They'd rather prove it's not necessary to change than to change. Is that true, guys? Do you get that? Given a choice between changing or proving that it's not necessary, most people are going to do what? Want to change or prove that it's not necessary to change? I was very poor the first 8 years in my business trying to prove to people that they should change. Instead, they did what? Prove to themselves back to me that there was no need for change. I had to finally get them to talk to themselves. Rolling with resistance, that's our whole point that we do with overcoming objection. When the topic change comes up, conversation, you need to be prepared for a certain amount of resistance. And guys, have I told you to go into every meeting with what? Knowing they're going to what? Go into every meeting knowing they're going to go along with everything, or they're going to push back? Go along and resist. That's right. I go in knowing they're going to resist, Bert. And if I know they're going to resist, I make sure. How do I make sure they can never resist me? How do I make sure with 100% certainty they will never resist me? I agree. That's one thing. Yeah, but there's a bigger thing than that. They say it. Very good, Bert. You're on fire today. I do not tell. I do not sell. I do not preach. I do not teach. I do not make a statement. If I do not make a statement, can they disagree with me? Can they disagree with an open-ended question? No. Can they disagree when I ape them? No. Do I ever give them a chance to resist me? Do you see why those scripts are so important? Those scripts are designed so that they cannot resist you. They can only agree with you. Does that make sense? Research shows that a strong change talk, particularly towards the end of a session, is associated with the change afterwards. You need to look out for darn, words that indicate desire, ability, reason, or need. And guys, do we get them to desire and need to leave their current advisor? The 209-point checklist. Because they're saying you got to listen to these darn words. If you don't hear these darn words, the desire, the ability, the reason my guy's screwing me, I need to move my money. If you don't need these, how well did the meeting go? If you don't hear these, how well did the meeting go? Swing and a miss. You got to be listening for these desire, ability, reason, and need to leave their current advisor. Handling this resistance is one of the most good resistance at some level is a feature of many kinds of consultation. We talked about that. So there are many examples of resistance talk that you may be familiar. Yes, but I've already tried that. But I know you want me to do my airway clearance, but did you notice that I gained 5 pounds? I have to admit I'm doing a great job with my weight. So there's lots of ways, like what I call it is qualifying language. If they say, instead of these are for medical reasons, but what I'm looking for is maybe sometimes I see what you're saying. It could be that way. We should, coulda, shoulda, woulda. These are all examples of what people are absolutely sure they should make changes, or people who are hedging their bets. I see what you're saying. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Yeah, they didn't get to the motive well enough. Exactly. They didn't understand the guy's screwing. Because if somebody thinks their guy is screwing them, is might, maybe, I see what you're saying. No, it's like it's black and white. I need to leave. Is there any change? Is there any way to misinterpret that? I need to get away from this advisor. How quickly can I move my money away from this guy? Is there any qualifying language there, or is that about as black and white you get? And that's what I'm looking for. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Got to roll with resistance. So the key principles behind rolling resistance are: don't respond to resistance with confrontation. That's why I say absolutely, no matter what they say. I use empathy and reflective listening. So first of all, I will tell them why they're right, and then get them with open-ended questions to tell me why I'm right. Then I have them reframe the whole thing, acknowledge the ambivalence, and then we move on. So aping is the best way to do that. It is a central principle of motivation that the individual takes responsibility for their own actions. This is important if change is to be firmly rooted, but can be difficult in clinical settings, especially when there is concern for patients' welfare. Someone who doesn't own a decision to change behavior, any behavior change tends to be short-lived. So if I tell them they need to move their money, they may say yes to get out of the office. If they tell themselves they need to move the money, how long does that stick? And if they tell themselves 100 times over an hour and a half that they need to move the money, how long does it stick? So using motivational in practice, the spirit is often referred to by Miller and Rolnick and is crucial to understanding the approach. Basically refers to the fact that motivational interviewing is not a collection of techniques. It's the spirit of how you talk to the patient that's most important. Motivation to change is elicited, not imposed. Do we tell people they need to leave because their guy is screwing them? No, we let them decide for themselves. We elicit that. Patient's task is to articulate and resolve their ambivalence. They must do it themselves. Our task is to be directive in helping a patient examine that ambivalence, but using a quiet and eliciting style. Readiness to change is not a trait, but a fluctuating product of interpersonal reaction. Any therapeutic relationship is a partnership, not an expert or recipient. It is a partnership. You are not an expert. You are there to help them discover, for them to become an expert themselves. Do you get that? You are not the expert. Your job is to let them become the expert. So how do you maintain the skills? Motivation interviewing is harder than it looks. Avoiding inadvertent and well-meaning advice is giving. I mean, guys, I get that we want to tell self-preachers because we're trying to help them, but that's not how the client looks at it. They think you're trying to sell them something, to make money off of them. See, it's difficult. It's difficult. Motivation may seem deceptively simple, but it takes practice and application to do well. We know from many years studying and learning behavioral change of staff that attending a workshop or reading a book does not does not lead to change in how they deal with their patients or you with your clients. Even if you're enthusiastic about these techniques, they go on to consider the implications of how motivational interviewing is taught. It suggests 6 levels of types of learning. Be introduced to. You guys have all been introduced to motivational interviewing. You've experienced the basis, and you obviously are interested. You wouldn't have never came onto the 5Q system. You wouldn't be on these calls every Monday. Then the second is to learn one or more specific applications. To learn how to ape, or learn how to ask open-ended questions, or learn the scripts, or learn how to overcome, whatever it may be. Then, to learn the basic clinical style of motivation, continue to learning it in practice, and then actually start using it with your clients. So actually start using the 5Q system with your clients. Then to move from basic competence to more advanced clinical skillfulness in motivation interviewing. Then be prepared to guide an ongoing group of other people to learn it. To learn to be flexible, to raise the skills and methods of helping others to learn it. Let's talk about number 4 here. To remove from the basics of competence to more advanced clinical levels. What tools do we give you or suggest that you use to do that? To move from basic competence to more advanced clinical skillfulness. What's the tool that I recommend that you all use? And I recommend you use it on a daily basis. Very good. Everybody's getting it. Yep, the most important 15 minutes of the day. Start your day with reviewing a tape of yourself. Find one skill you want to get better at and work on that one skill over and over and over for just 15 minutes. Guys, 15 minutes. You'll get at least 1% better at your skills in that 15 minutes. That means over a year, if you just do it Monday through Friday, you're going to get 200% better. That's not even taking into account compounding those skills, but 200% better at doing motivational interviewing, being more empathetic, being more of a facilitator versus an expert. Please do that 15-minute drill. So does this work? Does motivational interviewing work? Yes, it does. In fact, there have been studies after study after study, research after research conducted that motivational interviewing works way better, and it works better in getting people to reduce alcohol use, drug abuse, smoking, HIV risk, following through on their medical treatment, on using water purification techniques that require work and effort, diet and exercise, gambling, eating. It works for relationships. Does it work for relationships? Yes, we know. We've got hundreds and hundreds of cases of guys using motivational interviewing with people who love their advisor at the beginning of the process that moved their money to the advisor. Although the new advisor. Although altogether 14,000 participants, the average length of motivation offered in these trials was 2.2 hours. Unsurprisingly, they found the effective motivation varied widely between different studies, but were able to conclude that the robust and enduring effects of motivation interviewing is added at the beginning of treatment. So this works. It works. Make sense? Okay, so we ran out of time. We're going to skip the 5Q 21-point checklist portion of this call, but was this worthwhile to go through why motivational interviewing works and how we use this? Very good. But most importantly, guys, please go back, get those slides that we showed you at the beginning. 11% guaranteed. This is a great opportunity to use that motivational interviewing with clients to get them to take advantage of this. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They would kick themselves 2 or 3 years down the road if they did not take advantage of this now. Please get busy on that. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I've never, in 23 years of coaching, guys, told people I'm moving all of my money into this thing. I'm a big hedger. I never think, you know what, I need to move all my money here because there's other things that may come along. No, I'm moving all of my money, and I'm looking at scrapping to find more money to put into this thing at this point. Please don't. 23 years, I've never said this, so please get busy on it. Thanks, everybody. We're going to skip the script call after this since we didn't get to a point that didn't go through one of the 20-point checklists. We're going to skip the script call this week. We will get back to it next week when we have a little bit more time, but I wanted to finish this completely topic completely. So the name of the book, let me go back through it again, but again, it'll all be there. And it's not even a book, it's just a guide that's like 30 pages long. Motivational Interviewing, a brief guide, leads teaching hospitals. If you put that into the Google, Motivational Interviewing, a brief guide, leads teaching hospitals, it'll pop right up for you. And then we will have this
and again, I'll post that with the call replay as well. So you'll just be able to go directly to the call replay page, and this link for this guide will be on there as well.
And also the slides, right, Missy?
Correct.
For the 11%. Super.
Yep.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited today with all the things we've talked about. I will talk, no script call again, but we'll talk to you all next Monday. You guys have a great rest of the week. Talk to you all next Monday. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.